Welcome, my friends, to this Chaos Civil War featuring a showdown between Norsca, who shall be led by Throg the Troll King, and the Warriors of Chaos, who are going to be helmed by Archaon the Occasionally Chosen. He's also going to be joined by Swords of Chaos, a unit you certainly don't see terribly often. So as far as the build goes, in the front line, it's going to be a combination of standard Marauders mixed in with the Marauder Champions. So the Marauder Champions with great weapons, a pretty good pick against Chaos. They're going to be able to beat down most of the Chaos Infantry, with the exception of the very high-end ones like Chosen. And I think Chaos Warriors with great weapons do actually lose to Marauder Champions, because the Marauder Champions have a pretty good weapon strength, although I don't know. That's tough to say. It's something I'd have to test. But Marauder Champions, of course, give you that much needed AP in the front line. And plus, I think, yeah, they would probably win simply because of the rage mechanic. So the longer they fight, once they fight for 45 seconds, they'll get the 11% physical resist. And once they fight for another 45 on top of that, well, it's on increments of 45, they're going to be getting melee attack as well. So certainly very powerful. And that makes the Norscan Marauders, so just even the basic Marauders, better than the Chaos variant, because the Chaos variant does not have that enrage mechanic. So front line's going to be 2 champions. The rest are just going to be Marauders who are going to be holding. And once the Marauders start to buckle, I do have some monstrous support. So I have Norscan Ice Trolls in the back, which I like to just bring one of. I don't think you would want to build too much around Trolls because they, well, at least in this matchup, because the Trolls are a little bit finicky. If they're fighting a big, terror-causing monster, they're going to be running. They're not immune to psychology, of course, and they don't cause terror. Therefore, they're not going to be immune to the terror mechanic. But they do have Frostbite, and they hit relatively hard. So you find one area of the battlefield that they can isolate and just beat down. Or, for example, if Kolek overextends into your back line or another high-value target, just having that extra Frostbite and AP is quite nice. So I really do like the Norscan Ice Trolls, and they have some pretty good stats to boot. We have Throg for our Lord. Throg is always a pretty good choice against Chaos. Chaos doesn't have a ton of missiles to punish him. I mean, they might throw some Marauder Horsemaster javelins at him or something like that, but Throg, he's got swords sticking out of him. I think there's some javelins in his back somewhere. You can see there's like swords all up in here. I feel like he could just like reach up and pull those out and then he would like regenerate, but I guess it's just like kind of an intimidation thing, right? He just like leaves them. I don't know. It's like a flagellant thing. Who knows? But he's good. Anti-large armor piercing, frostbite, very good against the chaos monsters and leadership. He can fight Archaon, but Archaon can actually give Throg the business pretty good in a straight up fight in a vacuum, simply because Throg is lightly armored and Archaon, well, Archaon is good AP now. He did get changed. I keep like remembering the old days when Archaon used to have like pretty poor AP values, but I'm pretty sure they got changed in the past like 6 or 8 months. But yeah, Archaon can give himself the Flaming Sword of Ruin, which does give him fire damage, and from there he can do a ton of work against Throg. But Throg can give it right back. Anti-large armor piercing, pretty good combat stats, and he regenerates, which is quite cool. 3 groups of javelins. Now, a lot of people might be wondering, why would I bring the javelins instead of the throwing axes? Now, the javelins have more range, number 1, which is huge, and they also do have a bonus first large. Now, you're losing out on some AP, but honestly, these guys, like, the damage is good enough, even without the armor piercing, and I really think that the bonus first large plus the range just makes these guys way better than the throwing axes, just exponentially better. And they have like a more direct arc of fire. I find that the throwing axes kind of do this like weird spinning animation before they make contact. It like takes longer for them to get there, so it's easier to dodge, whereas the javelins seem a little bit more direct and they just have that nice thud, they just get in there nice and good like. We do also have a Shaman Sorcerer with Death, so Fate Abuna and the Spirit Leech both are good against Chaos if they have like Chosen or Chaos Knights or anything like that. 1 group of Spears in the back, 2 groups of Famir with great weapons, another staple against Chaos. You pretty much have to bring these guys in my opinion. I mean, you don't have to. You can go with like Mammoths and the double Feral Mammoth build and Dragons, but I really like the Famir. Anti-large armor piercing, they also have armor sundering, so it's going to help your champs and your Marauders do more damage against the armor targets, and yeah, they're just a really good unit, really good against the big monsters, like I said. That's pretty much it. So for my opponent's force, the Great Aerocrastic here in the front line, it's going to be a couple Forsaken on the flanks. Forsaken are something that were very good in Warhammer 1, and, they're still not terrible. I mean, I don't know. I'm on the fence about these guys. They're really incredibly fast. I mean, but I guess maybe they're just squishy with the 20 melee defense. Yeah, that's their biggest detractor for sure. But I mean, against lightly armored troops like Marauders and things like that, they should be able to mulch pretty hard. Plus, as a backline pressure tool, I do like having a couple of them, especially the Demon's View. So he's got 2 Forsaken. The rest of the front line is going to be just Marauders across the entire core, which will do fine against my army, to be honest. He does have the Swords of Chaos. So yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing these guys in action. Plus 1 group of Trolls for Pound Town. And the big thing he is really going to need to get a ton of value out of is going to be the Marauder Horsemasters, which I believe he has 3 or 4 groups of. Yeah, 2 Trolls in total. So yeah, it's going to be a good old-fashioned Chaos Monster match. So let's get the show on the road, guys. So frontline fight is about to be underway. We're going to have some engagements here. Champs are going to be charging in, but Aerocrastic is going to be pulling back right here with the Chaos Warriors and then countercharging with the Marauders. And Archaon, the Lord of the End Times, is going to be coming in to just give the business to these guys. And he has decent splash attacks. Archaon can certainly get in there, and he is going to be joined by Swords of Chaos, who are going to be giving him the Guardian. In the meantime, Throg's going to be surging in as well to kind of counterfire this, and I was able to get a little bit of decent javelin fire here into the Horsemasters. Now on the far side, this is what I was talking about. The Trolls going right up the center. They would be certainly helpful, but they're going to be fighting pretty good troops that could get terror routed by certain units. Although on his roster, I don't know if anything over here causes terror, but I saw some isolated Forsaken. Now, the Forsaken would normally easily collapse this flank of Marauders. So I get the Trolls over here, I just kind of send them to work, and they're going to be able to beat down the Forsaken with the help of the Marauders. So hopefully that'll work out. In the meantime, Aerocrastic doing a pretty good job here getting into the back line. So some of his loose Marauders here are going to be pushing in. Now I do have reserves, so I have some Premier back here, and I'm also laying in wait with the Norscan Warhounds, or Ice Hounds. So for once, this actually is intentional. I meant to leave these guys back here because I figured there would be some backline pressure that I could then countercharge and ambush with. And these guys, they're kind of like mini light cav. Aerocrastic put it in a very good way there, but they got 42 weapon strength, pretty good charge bonus. They can certainly do some work. So back in the main fight, Chaos has broken through the center pocket, but my reserves have now piled in. So the Famir with great weapons are going to be fighting, and they're going to be very good against Swords of Chaos. I have been Spirit Leeching the Swords of Chaos, and I also have some more Marauders who are going to be getting in here, getting closer and closer to that sweet Enrage battle. On the far side of the battlefield, or the back side I should say, I do also have some Marauder champions with great weapons who are going to be fighting here and holding relatively well, but they're going to be taken to Pound Town by the Trolls, but put up a pretty good fight here considering, and it looks like Aerocrastic was Spirit Leeching or some Bune on some of those guys there. So some of his Marauder, no, not Buna, that was actually my Spirit Leech on the Swords of Chaos. So his Horse Masters in the meantime are going to be throwing in here into the Famir with Great Weapons, which isn't a bad target. Now Famir with Great Weapons are very heavily armored, and Horse Masters do have low AP, so it's not going to be like a big burst of damage like it would be from throwing axes, for example, but still it's going to be getting him that nice incremental value. And here we have Archaon Never Chosen is going to be going after my Famir here, and maybe going to be able to get my Deathcaster. He certainly hits very hard. On the other side of the battlefield, Chaos has broken through again, so Forsaken and Forsaken are going to be piling into my spears. He was able to push back the Famir and all these guys, but I still have the champions over here holding. Champions have done a very good job kind of holding back these guys, and we're doing good against the Forsaken until Aerocrastic was able to kind of punch through here. Now we are able to get a couple Javelins back online, which is going to be really important in this battle. The Javelins this entire time have been doing a ton of work against Archaon and some of the bigger targets. The Trolls have just been getting taken to town. I mean, you can see they're very beat up. 11 models still of their 12, so they could still heal up here. But we're going to be pulling back with our Norscan Ice Trolls and our Hounds, and we're going to be trying to re-secure this pocket because you can see there's a massive surge of chaos coming through here. Archaon getting very aggressive, so Throg's had enough of the shit. He's going to be getting in there. Fight or Die is going down, going to be buffing up these Famirs, and now they're nice and saucy. And Archaon's actually taking quite a bit of damage from Throg, so he's going to need to pull back there. And yes, in a 1v1 duel, I think Archaon would probably win that, but in this case, Throg he does not stand alone. It's like that scene in the True Towers, not alone. The Famir with Great Weapons are going to be continuing to fight. Swords of Chaos getting very beat up. We are going to be dropping a Spirit Leech because I need to get rid of those guys because they are doing some very good work giving Archaon that Guardian buff. So Archaon is taking, substantially less damage because of that physical resist, and Throg does indeed do physical damage. Now Aerocrastic's going to be going in for a big Alpha Strike here. He does crumble my Norscan Ice Troll, so very good play there. He's able to kind of buckle that pocket. However, I do have some doggies of my own, so the Norscan Ice Wolves are going to be going up and then around. So we slam into the back of these guys. And these Hounds are perfect against these type of units. We're going to be able to frostbite them. You can see the Pimp Claws coming down, and a lot of these guys are going to get pinned in place while my Javelins in the back are now back online. So these guys are going to be throwing with their Olympic arms, doing some substantial damage in this pocket here. And on the other side, you can see the Marauder champions still going strong. They're probably fully enraged. So at this point, they have the leadership, the physical resist, the melee attack, which is pretty good. And Throg and company are able to break that center pocket. So the Norscan Ice Wolves and the Deathcaster Throg and the Famir are able to hold and push back the Hordes of Chaos. So now you can see there's a couple Trolls who are going to be coming back. Well, the Swords of Chaos actually have only 2 models. So those guys are pretty much out of the picture here. But Archaon's still alive, but now Throg's coming for vengeance. He's coming for that booty right now, and he's potentially going to be able to do some good damage here. You can see Archaon's going to be riding in circles. The classic Archaon tactic there. It's so annoying when you have like a mounted character trying to duel somebody and he just like rides circles while he's like being beaten on. Such an unfortunate thing. But Archaon here is going to get slapped with a Spirit Leech. And yeah, he's going to be getting attacked by 6 Famir right here, another 8 right here, as well as Throg, all of which have anti-large. My Javelins are also back online. Some of the Trolls were coming back to try and salvage this battle, but at that point they were just taking so many Javelins to the face. It's actually a really cool map too. Arrow and I were talking about this. This is, I believe it's called Kelpin Coal Dust, but yeah, it's a neat one. I got to add this to some of my tournament pools. So going back to the breakdown, let's take a look. The standard Marauders did pretty good for themselves. They obviously, I mean, you can't really measure it purely by kills. They were heavily outnumbered by infantry, and they still did pretty good. I mean, 20, 14, and 29, they were able to get a couple of chevrons. I don't think I had, yeah, I put chevrons on those guys, so they probably didn't earn those. But Marauder champions are pretty much a staple. But yeah, the Javelins are so good. I mean, if you can keep those guys online, they'll annihilate pretty much anything big on the roster. Plus, against throwing axes, plus Marauder Horse Masters, it gives you some counter skirmishing potential. So if they're going to be harassing you, it gives you something to kind of fight back with. And just in a sheer numbers game, Marauder Hunters with Javelins will be able to outtrade the Marauder Horsemaster simply because they just have more bodies, more Javelins coming in. It really adds up quite a bit. The Ice Trolls did a good job as well, just overloading that flank, crushing the Chaos flanking move with the Forsaken, and then being able to come back into the middle and help out in the late game was quite useful. But he had a really good collapse there with the Horsemen. They were able to break the Trolls down pretty good-like, so certainly was scary. Famir, as always, were MVPs, 51, 64. Certainly can't complain about that. They're just such a rock-solid unit. I mean, Famir, Norsca has a couple of builds too. I mean, you can go with Feral Mammoths against Chaos. They're pretty good. Like, they would mulch the infantry, but again, Arrow did have the Marauder Horsemasters against the Feral Mammoths, which are much bigger targets, so I think he would have been able to handle that relatively easily. But obviously, we were just trying out some new stuff. He was messing around with Swords of Chaos, which did okay. 50 kills, plus I guess they gave Archeon more dueling capability and saved him from taking quite a bit of damage from like Throg and the Trolls and some of those other targets, so they brought some good utility, and they did also mulch some of my infantry, so... And I had to use several Spirit Leeches on him too. Now, I don't think Swords of Chaos are a great unit, but I'd be interested to play a little bit of a couple more Chaos games and maybe try those guys out in some different matchups. Which ones? I feel like they'd be okay against Norsca. Maybe against like Beastmen. Maybe against Greenskins. Like any of those factions that don't have like elite missile play or like Demogryph Knight type units, I feel like they could be okay against. I mean, like Beastmen would have to use like Throwing Axes or like Korax Man-Rippers or regular Centaurs with Great Weapons, which... I mean, Great Weapons would do well against Swords of Chaos, but again, you can protect them. And I think Swords of Chaos are a unit that you want to use in like the frontline fight. You don't want to use them as like a flanking cav. You just kind of use them to hammer in the middle like he did. And it did good. I got pushed back like several times and had to like recruit my forces. So well played to the great Norris. Hopefully you guys liked our little coordination here. Chuck Norris, always good stuff. And Chuck Norris, a true legend. Make sure to check out Aerocrastic's YouTube channel. There will be a link in the comment section below. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this Norsca versus Warriors of Chaos game. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.